Peggy 12.
I'm not sure I can really talk about my favourite point in the story because it's a major spoiler.
No, absolutely not. It's the laundrette. You're not doing the arcade at all. We didn't want Aracade Paradise to just be a collection of arcade games. We wanted to make the player feel like they had more kind of involvement.
I think a story is important just to give the player a reason to keep playing it. For me, I play a lot of games for progression, not just the experience, and a story is the thing that normally keeps driving me forward.
The narrative is completely linked to the player's progression. The player drives when the next narrative beat happens. If the player just wants to hang around and play a game for a while, we completely let them do that.
So the more cabs that the player buys and the more money and investment that goes into the arcade, the further you'll go with the story.
Hello, Ashley. This is your father calling. Welcome at long last to the real world and real responsibility.
The basic core of it is, you know, you're sort of running this arcade and you shouldn't really be.
You are Ashley, who has been stuck in this dead-end job by your dad, Gerald.
You are given this laundrette by your father to take responsibility and make, you know, something out of yourself.
Gerald's this kind of slight antagonist figure, just about to retire, business mogul, owns lots of companies, has sold various companies.
An ambitious, arrogant, self-important, rich guy who lives in the Riviera and wants his children to succeed and be like him.
And his crummiest sort of business that he doesn't care about, he's kind of put Ashley in charge of to try and, you know, get them to grow up.
With strict instructions just to concentrate on the laundry side of the business. As you start working in the laundrette, you realise that cleaning toilets and emptying washing machines isn't the most amount of fun, and you much prefer hanging out in the back room that's got 3 arcade games in it.
And you present him with this idea of, you know, taking the arcade cabinets and expanding that side of the business.
But he's very, very dismissive of the idea of running an arcade. So Ashley, in secret, starts building this business up and actually makes a really good run of it.
Ashley we chose to have gender neutral just so that the player can really feel that they are Ashley rather than seeing it through a character's eyes.
As a studio, we want to be really inclusive and we want players, you know, all players to just enjoy the game. So we don't ever say that Ashley is he, she, whatever, we just let them be who they are, essentially.
We wanted to make the player feel like they had more kind of involvement.
And get more an in-depth reaction to how Ashley might feel.
You're really frustrated at what your dad's done to you. You're bitter, you want to prove that you're capable. And so you set about trying to do the best that you can.
The narrative is completely linked to the player's progression. The player drives when the next narrative beat happens. We need the player to feel like they're kind of really progressing through, you know, the stages of like this back room and then a little bit bigger and then extending that and knocking down some walls and building more and getting more cabinets and like seeing their business grow at the same time as seeing Ashley's character grow.
Your progression as a business owner, building up through your arcade as you enlarge it, and how your relationship with your dad evolves as a result.
As the arcade will progress, this storyline will as well, and the tone of the conversations you have with people will kind of gradually change.
You see this flawed relationship with Gerald and Ashley start to kind of rebuild, I guess.
You, as the player, guide Ashley through the trials and tribulations of trying to please your father. Now, we've all been there. We've all experienced that kind of thing to one extent or another.
It could just have been a compilation of arcade games, which would be great fun, but you probably wouldn't play it for too long. You'd play all the games a couple of times, enjoy them and move on. But because there's this story, you want to keep playing, unlocking the arcade obviously to get more machines, but also to see where the story's going to take you.
After I'd pitched the game to Wired, we were kind of chatting about storylines and that sort of stuff, and I kind of half jokingly, but knowing that they'd already done a game with Doug Cockle, said, "It'd be cool if you could get Doug on board to play the player's dad." And I didn't really think about it much after that. And then they came back to me and were like, yeah, Doug's on board. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Hi, I'm Doug Cockle, and I'm voicing Gerald.
I mean, the part was pretty much written for him, if I'm honest. He was called Gerald, and he was in the Riviera already, regardless of whether we actually got Doug to play it, because, you know, I'm a massive Witcher fan.
So get on it, check it out, and I'll see you there as Gerald.
You buy the arcade, but it doesn't get delivered straight away. You have to wait until the next morning. And so, you know, you go about your chores. And then when it arrives, you place it where you want to place it, and then finally you can kind of walk up to it and play it. And, you know, we want players to be a bit like, ooh, what's this one going to be like? And then you walk up to it and it's like, ah, right.